This kid on the plane asked his mom about 500 of those silly would you rather questions throughout the entire flight. Sure, it wasn't ideal for 6 a.m., but after a while I found myself silently playing along. Would you rather travel into the future or back into the past? Well, I'll tell you one thing. If granted the ability to time travel, the last place you'd catch a black woman is in the past. And while the history of darker skin isn't limited to the darker parts of history, this country and the black woman will never share a similar sense of nostalgia. People always bring up the 50s, love calling them the good old days. I'm guessing their grandmothers relayed warm memories of pit stops at a neon-tinged, checkerboard floor diner. You know, the ones jam-packed with blonde bobs and rollerblades, all for that August afternoon milkshake. The brain of the black woman is conditioned to pay attention to detail. The ghostly sign that hangs outside the diner's front door, slightly swaying in a barely there breeze, for example. It's branded black letters, too harsh, my grandmother probably thought, to occupy such an overwhelmingly white space. Remind her that maybe she didn't want a milkshake all that badly in the first place. A few decades back, in the heart of a suburban wasteland, lived a far too loud 8-year-old girl on a far too quiet street. She had a bit of a reputation when it came to kickball. Okay, now this wasn't to say she was the best player on the team. In hindsight, she was probably pretty bad, but one could hardly notice, for they were too busy marveling at how so much confidence coursed through this little black body. I'd choose the pass if that meant I could find a way to bottle up her fearlessness for when she'll need it most. Her mother would always tell her it was a wonder how such a giant soul could be compacted into such a small girl. She hated that word. Small. I'd want to go back and make her hate the word even more. Hate it enough that the day will never come when she chooses to abandon her innately grand existence in favor of appeasing those who feel her refusal to shrink somehow hinders their ability to grow. I'd want to be sure that she doesn't develop the slouch in my shoulders, or the paralysis of my tongue, or the fear in my walk. In school, she'll learn about places like Paris and store the information right next to Neverland and Atlantis. As she gets older, for a brief moment she'll be an idealist, falling in love with the Baldwins and the Bakers, but only in theory. The notion of a paradise like Paris, as romantic as it is, being able to love her back was laughable. I've been in Paris for a day now. Took everything in me not to skydive off the plane on the way here, but I followed through. It's a small step, I know, but I hope she'd be proud of me, you know? That I lived up to be at least half of the unstoppable force she always was, of the woman she expected me to be. I wish I could say that my desire to travel back in time is honorable, but truth is, I'd use this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for purely selfish reasons. It's going to take her a long time to realize that she's allowed to be selfish. I just want her to know that one day, if she wants, she'll climb to the very top of the Eiffel Tower and feel anything but small.